pretty much libertarian.
All right, define libertarian.
So libertarian and classical liberal is what I get more than anything else, because I say I'm a classical liberal, which basically means you believe in the individual. The sovereignty of the individual is the simple, most important thing. It is your life. It is your duty to do what you see fit. The government is supposed to do pretty much nothing other than protect your life. So it's supposed to have an army and police and stuff like that. And then really just laissez-faire economics. And then the difference between classical liberal and libertarian is how far do you want to go with the government? So I think there is some utility for the state. But the more I do this, the more I have these conversations and I talk to ANCAPs and real libertarians and all that, I find it hard to defend the state at almost any level at this point. But I do think that because I don't want to live in Mad Max Fury Road just yet, although we may be heading there, I still will defend the state at some level. But I would say everything should be local. We have an incredible experiment here with 50 states. If your state tax is too high, move, go somewhere else. If your state doesn't have good education, you can go somewhere else. If you don't like the weather, somewhere. But the second we make everything federal, and this is what, it's not just the left. This is what people who are using lazy thinking that you referred to, they think we should just have one law, that we should all live exactly the same no matter where we are geographically, no matter what our religion or however we set our set of views is. That is a nightmare. That is a nightmare for a totalitarian state, because if the federal government, if one government controls everything, guess what? If you don't like it, you got to leave the country. You know, go to Mexico, go to Canada. You probably won't like it there either.
What are you referring to, like, in terms of like one set of laws?
Well, because you want states' rights. What you should care about is states' rights. So, for example, we live in California. We are taxed out the fucking wazoo. I bought a house last year. It's my first time at 41 years old that I own property in America. I made it. I own property. I don't have to tell you about my property taxes. They're insane.
They're very high.
They're absurdly high.
That's the price you pay for living in a spot where everybody wants to live.
Yeah, no, but that's it. That's the beauty, right? So like there's a trade-off there. Now, I could move to Texas and the property taxes would be way low, and maybe because they don't tax as much, the schools aren't as good, or a series of other things. But that's the beauty of the foot vote. You can go. This is an experiment. This thing in America.
Well, who's against that?
Anyone that wants to keep giving more power to the federal government, which is pretty much everybody these days, pretty much everybody in mainstream, certainly all of the Democrats, the mainstream set of Democrats and the Bernie and the progressive crew, they would love for the federal government to control everything. And that is an absolute nightmare.
But when you say like control everything, like how so? Like
they want to control all economics, Department of Education, can figure out all the environmental regulations, all of those things. I would kick back everything to the states. Let the states decide. And if you don't like it, get going. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. If you really care about marijuana and you live in Alabama right now and it's not legal, guess what? Go to Colorado, go to California. I mean, that's how you'll influence things, because you can move your family, your value, whatever you bring to your community and your life. I mean, think about it right now. If California just kept taxing higher and higher and kept screwing up there's a ton that's going wrong in the state. Eventually, Joe Rogan might be like, I just built this freaking kick-ass new studio here. I'm now paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes and all this stuff. You might want to try it somewhere else where they're going to tax you less. But that's the beauty of the thing. You don't have to leave the country. So the federal government should pretty much do nothing. It should make sure we're not warring with each other, that the states aren't warring. That's about it. And then protect the borders. Beyond that, it doesn't have to do a lot. Leave it to the states. Look, if you had a problem here, your sewage leak right outside, you want the federal government to deal with that, or do you want the local municipality to deal with that? You want everything to be as local as possible, because that's how you'll influence things. And that's how you as an individual will be empowered. And that's all I have to say about that.
No, I mean, hearing what you're saying, but I'm just not hearing this clamoring for the government to take care of everything. I mean, you heard a little bit from Bernie, but I just think, again, a lot of that is like, it's not doing it now. So the idea is that the solution would be if the government takes over and we take more rich people's taxes, and he'll spout off about income inequality and take that money and redistribute it. And then somehow or another, that's going to fix everything. But it's not. You're just going to make government bigger. You're going to have more jobs. You're going to have more jobs in government, more red tape, more bureaucrats, more bullshit.
So you're agreeing with me?
Yeah. For the most part.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you want to give free college education to everyone. First off, it's not free. I mean, this is just stupid, lazy thinking to say it is free. It's not free. You got to pay the janitor and you got to pay the professors and everybody else.
Well, they mean free for students, and the idea being that our taxes, instead of going towards the military, they would go towards education.
Sure. So they should at least be honest and say that, because a certain amount of people just hear free and you just think it's free, but it's not free. You obviously have to pay for it.
Right.
But also we're moving into an economy where robots are taking over, automation is taking over. Go to, what I think McDonald's said within 5 years, it's all going to be iPads. Go to half the McDonald's and, fast food places in airports now, it's all iPads. So if the more you're going to, the government, which doesn't do anything right or well or efficiently, the more they say, okay, private business, you're going to have to spend more on employees. Well, then all these businesses are just going to figure out ways, which they should do. I mean, that's ingenuity, right? They will figure out ways to save costs, save expenses, and then less people will be hired. And then at the same time, we're going to be subsidizing all these people to go to college, where often in college they're learning nothing in gender studies and all of these other crazy classes. And we're just going to have this set of people who have no real skills, and we're going to set up businesses that will never want to hire them because the government is going to tell them how much to pay. I mean, you have employees here. You pay them what you think is fair. And if they don't want to do it, they don't have to. But imagine if the government came in and was like, Joe, you're going to have to pay your guys this amount.